Hello, this is Ralph Alvarado, and welcome to Exploratory Text Analytics. Today we're going to situate exploratory text analytics within the wider range of fields that precede it and have constituted it over time. So among these related fields, let's look at the first here. Computational linguistics is a field that is very much related to text analytics. It's an older field. It's probably one of the first fields to bring computational resources to bear on the study of language. It actually precedes artificial intelligence, and it's basically concerned with using computers as a tool to study human language. So this is essentially linguists using computers to study language as they study language, which is language as spoken by other human beings and in other populations. There's also natural language processing, which is closely related to computational linguistics, but really quite distinct in its project. Natural language processing is really a branch of artificial intelligence, which, as many of you probably know, was founded in, I believe it was 1956 at Dartmouth University at a conference, which had very high aspirations for using computers to simulate and produce human brain-like programs. So natural language processing is that subfield of artificial intelligence which is focused on getting computers to both understand and produce human language. That is, to get computers to be agents of language, just as humans are. The third field is information retrieval, which is related to library science, but library science in the information age, where the vast corpus of texts that you might find in a library have been digitized or are born digital. And the question is, what can you do with the computer to improve access to and representation of all of this textual information? And so classic tasks within this space include document summarization, that is to say, take a document and reduce it to its essential, say, propositions or keywords, its most salient terms. The ability to retrieve a document based on the user's interests, you finding the needle in the haystack, the ability to index collections effectively, to classify documents into well-organized collections based on their internal contents, that is to say, their language, as well as their metadata. Another field is text mining, which is of more recent vintage, which is essentially a set of practices that were developed around the requirement or the need to make sense of texts as they have been accumulating or had been accumulating in databases over time. Unstructured data is everywhere in corporate databases, in government databases, in social media databases, and text mining was really developed to try to extract value and information from those data sets, and it was allied pretty much with data mining to do so. Another field that I'll point out that you may not be familiar with is digital humanities. Digital humanities has been around for quite a while. It goes back to 1949 when a Italian Jesuit priest, Father Buza, met Watson from IBM on an airplane and decided to use IBM tools to create an index of the collected works of Thomas Aquinas called the Index Thomisticus, which actually did get completed. And this field has long been concerned with creating digital collections of primary textual sources, but beyond that, to explore new forms of scholarship, new ways of representing arguments and of texts and many other things. A very broad field now. It's grown into digital humanities. But it's a very important field in this field of exploratory text analytics because it is focused almost exclusively on what I've called long-form text and has a lot to say about how we can think about textuality when represented digitally. So here's a genealogy, a kind of a rough influence diagram that I created to show the relationships between these different endeavors. I have highlighted in green the two most important sort of antecedents to text mining, which is the most important antecedent to text analytics. and that is DM for data mining and NLP for natural language processing. So let's look at those ancestral pathways first. So text mining as a field is extremely important. It emerges in the 1990s when historically we had accumulated lots and lots of databases in many organizations, primarily due to the combined revolution of the commercialization of the relational model, which begins in the early 1980s or perhaps the late 1970s with Oracle and other platforms, and the miniaturization of the computer, the development of the personal computer, and the improvement of computing overall, so that by the 1990s, many organizations obviously are using computers and accumulating data, and the need for text mining emerges. Text mining emerges, by the way, out of the prior practice of data mining, which is taking advantage of data in databases in general. Text mining emerges when it's clear that lots of data in those databases are textual in nature, or what is called unstructured data. And data mining, I would argue, gets its influence from relational database theory and design, which in turn gets its influence from databases in general, which are developed. They go back pretty far in the history of computing. The other ancestral path is computational linguistics and artificial intelligence, which merge to form natural language processing, which becomes a practice in the 1960s, hugely influential. So influential, in fact, that people use the term as a cover term for this entire field, but it actually is a subset of it, as we've mentioned. It really covers the work of trying to build computers or computer programs that can speak and understand language, like Alexa or Siri or Google. The other field is information retrieval, which we've talked about, which goes back pretty far. You can even trace it to before the 1950s with Vannevar Bush's Memex, which we're not going to get into, but if you're interested, go look it up in Google, Memex. And then of humanities computing, which I just mentioned. Probably the most significant development in humanities computing that relates to our project is the adoption and development of something called the Text Encoding Initiative in the 1980s and 1990s, which has to do with the development of both a syntax and methodology, as well as a model for understanding what a text is, so that it can be represented formally and then subject to various processes, both analytical and otherwise.